Yeah.
Hello everybody, Sabat the Mighty here, and I'm back with another episode of Eve Echoes. So in today's episode, we're actually going to be taking a break from the battleships and all of the craziness of Tier 9 to take a look at the faction ships. My friend Eternal Echoes does live streams and gives a faction frigate giveaway, usually on a weekly basis. And so I figured we should take a look at those and kind of see what you're getting in for and what frigate would be good for you. So, today we're going to be taking a look at the first frigate and the faction frigate giveaway ships that you can receive. Out of all of the faction ships, I decided to start with the Garista Worm. And before we get started, if you do like my content, please leave a like on the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified whenever I do release new content in the future. And with that out of the way, let's take a look at the Garista's Worm. Alright, so the Garista's Worm does get some interesting bonuses. For its roll bonus, it gets plus 200% small drone damage, and 200% small drone effective hit points. The effective hit points really aren't going to mean a thing to us in the purposes of PvE, however that does have a pretty big implication in PvP, as it's going to take you much longer to kill the drones if you do target drones first. Next, for every level of advanced small drone operation that you have, you're going to get an additional 10% small drone damage and 1 km of drone control range. What does that mean? It means the Worm can actually be a pretty effective little sniper ship for a frigate. And that's kind of crazy if you think about it. A frigate that can reach out pretty far. If you put in 3 drone control ranges on there, you're going to get an additional 45 km range. Meaning that with this ship, the frigate, you could hit out to 85 km with your drones, speed tanking. So you could just orbit at 85 km and have a field day and let your drones go at it. That's pretty cool in itself right there. However, I digress. So for advanced frigate command bonus per level, you're going to get plus 10% missile and / torpedo kinetic damage and 10% missile / torpedo thermal damage. So it does get a little bit of bonuses to missiles, but that's not a full just 10% increase. So it's not as big as you might imagine, but it still is pretty helpful. But we're not going to focus on that in today's build. Lastly, you get plus 4% shield resistance per level as well, meaning that this can actually be a little tanky ship too. Overall, I like it a lot. It's got a very big array of offense and defense. Pretty awesome ship. So for its basic information, its overall defense is 3,949 with a flight velocity of 354, a warp speed of 5, power grid output of 64, a capacitor of 858 gigajoules, a cargo hold capacity of 260, and like the resistance bonus, it does indicate that it is a shield tank. Okay, so what did we do with this Worm here today? Well, we did a little playing around with it, and we pretty much maxed out the power grid. So in the 2 high slots, I went ahead and put in 2 Pitham C-type medium rapid missile launchers. I know rapid mediums, they got their nerf and they're not as good as they used to be, but they're going to fill the role here for us quite well. In our medium slots, because of a power grid constraint, I have in here 2 Haley target painters, which obviously if you're on live, you're probably going to be downgrading those anyway, but they all take 1 megawatt. And we have a Predator stasis webifier. One of the other options that you could actually put in here is a group shield repper if you have one. So if you put in like a medium or large group shield repper, that might help mitigate some of that damage and free up one of these low slots to add more damage in if you like more damage or whatnot, since this ship can actually speed tank, so that is something that you could do as well. Since you are using smaller weaponry, the target painters aren't really going to do too terribly much, but I couldn't quite squeeze in what I wanted to. And I wanted to get in a warp scram. I tried to go down. They're all 6 megawatts until you get to the Predator, and that one is 7 megawatts. And I just couldn't quite do it. So, couldn't quite fit it in there. Maybe if you wanted to put in more power grid rigs, you could fit it in there. I mean, you definitely could if you put in another power grid rig. But I decided just for the purposes of PvE, that's not really necessary. I figured it would be nice if you do run into any type of ships that are using a micro warp drive, you could turn it off, slow them down, murder them at your leisure, but take it for what it is. So you have some options that you can actually do there. For your drones, you can use anything you want, but I have an array of Mark 9 hobgoblins that are in here currently. Obviously, you can change those out for whatever damage type you see fit, and since you are using missiles, they are going to be applying their damage evenly for the most part across all spreads. However, if you notice here, on the missiles themselves, you have your two higher damages are going to be thermal and kinetic. So basically what that indicates is you're not doing the two good extreme damages to armor or shields, but you're right in that middle. You're doing pretty good damage overall. So that's kind of a good bonus to have if you're going to have that. Just wanted to point that out there. Okay, in the low slots, we do have a Pith C-type small shield booster. I am running a Sinti C-type small afterburner. However, one of the things I do want to show here is if you really wanted to, you could put on a small micro warp drive. It does still fit the small micro warp drive. You have literally 2 power grid left, but you could run this with a micro warp drive as well, and it does have enough power grid to do so. This is on the test server, and it is with all max skills. So just remember that. Just know that to actually get these skills to max is going to be a lot more forgiving. I have an alt account who pretty much has all the frigate skills maxed out already. Did I put a... Yeah, I put the small one back in. In our last low slot, we have a Nestworm Drone Damage Amplifier. I decided to go with this. Another option that you could take is just resistances for your shield, a Shield Hardener. And with the Shield Hardener, you're looking good too. I opted to go for the little bit more damage here. That brings us to a total DPS of 460 with this fit, with a majority of that in the drone DPS. Which brings us to our rigs. And our rigs, I did opt for basically all DPS. So we have a drone speed augmentator, another drone speed augmentator, however you want to say that, and drone fire power augmenter. All level 3s for 17.5% on the actual raw damage increase and 12.5% on the first activation time adjustment of a negative, and then the second one is going to be a reduced version, but still the same. Over in our engineering slots, I do have in an auxiliary thrusters 3. I have a capacitor control circuit, and I have an ancillary power grid router 3. The ancillary power grid router 3 is so we could fit all this crazy stuff in here and have fun with it. It does leave us that little bit of power grid left over, but again, that's what I was saying, one of the rigs here, you could take out the capacitor control circuit. It won't be cap stable anymore, but you'll still be sitting at 18 minutes. So you're probably not going to be running the shield booster all the time and stuff anyway, so you might be able to actually get away with that and put in another power grid slot, and then that'll free you up a lot of different things that you can do with your mid slots there. So that's pretty much it. Let's take a look and see where we're at. Again, I already spoke before, but we're at 460.8 DPS. 154.6 of that is coming from missiles, and 305.48 is coming from drones, with a optimal range of 40 km on the drones, and our missiles have a range of 21.4 km. For our defense, we're looking at a total of 6,088 effective hit points. 1,909 of that is in the shields with an EM resistance of 20, thermal of 42, kinetic of 52, and explosive of 60. Our armor resist is 1,382 with an EM resist of 50, a thermal of 45, kinetic 25, and explosive 10. And when this does get down to structure, you have 1,444 hit points before you explode, and you have a 33% resistance to everything there. For its capacitor, it is running stable, 0.94 gigajoules at 5.8%. Capacitor capacity is 1,287 gigajoules with a recharge time of 198 seconds. For our targeting, we're looking at 16 points with a scan resolution of 939, a signature radius of 29, and it can lock a maximum of 5 targets. And our navigation, we're at a warp prep time of 2.73 seconds, maximum speed of 584.10, and a warp speed of 5. No warp stability in this particular fit. And we already looked at it before, but our maximum power grid with the rigs that we have in is sitting at 104. Now again, remember this is with max skills, so if you were trying to emulate this fit, you are getting reduced power grid from the shield skills on here. You're also getting reduced power grid on the medium missiles for having those maxed out, and the experts as well. So there's a lot of extra things than just having your frigate skills maxed out in here that's helping all of this stuff fit in. So just take all of that with a grain of salt. Okay, so that's the fit that I have for this ship. We're going to go ahead and take it out, and we're going to do it on current level content, meaning I'm not going to take this against a tier 10. I am just going to do a hard mission, and we're going to bring it out there and see how it performs. All right, I will see you guys in the mission. All right, here we are outside of the mission, and we're going to go ahead and start moving, and we're going to take a look at what this ship can do speed-wise with its afterburner. So when we turn the afterburner on and take a look at our navigation, we're sitting at 1664.94, making this a pretty speedy little worm. Now, we don't have really any additional shield bonuses because we decided not to really go with the tanky fit this time. So let's go ahead and warp into the anomaly and see how we hold up. Oh, helps if I actually click the anomaly. And we're going to warp in at about 13. We're going to give ourselves a little room. Basically, it's warping in at 0.
Warp drive active.
And I'm going to go ahead and set my approach to 0 ahead of time. And we're going to see how this little ship fights these great big ships. Alright, we're going to turn this on. The first thing we're going to do is set an orbit. We're going to zoom out a little bit. And we can just start focus firing. Let's activate our stuff here. Okay. So we're in a good orbit. Because we have actually such a far range that we can fly at, I didn't put on the rig that lets you turn better, because I figure we can have a pretty big turn radius. We're not like some of the other ships where we have to orbit in at, 5 km or 2 km or even 1 km. We're not having to keep that tight of an orbit. We can have a bigger orbit. So that gave us a little bit more wiggle room with those engineering rigs to let us play around. Not to say that that still might not be a good rig to have in. I mean, this could be a ship where you could maybe put some torpedoes on here. That might be interesting. Having the drones, and that's another thing. We're going to look at our damage here. Let's activate that. And our drones go up. We have a total of 541 DPS with our amplifier, our damage amplifier activated. Okay, let's start orbiting the next guy and focus fire him. And we haven't really taken even a hit of damage yet, so we're able to speed tank these guys pretty effectively. And so with the speed tank going on, and we do have that. That's what I was saying for one of these mid slots, maybe replacing these with the group shield booster would free up another low slot to give yourself more damage if that's what you're into. So that could actually be something that's very effective. So we're running with the 2 target painters on here right now. But again, I'm not sure if that's necessary. We might not need to do that. We might just, I mean, in the Weber, we're almost always outside of Weber range. It's just kind of there to really help us out if we run into one of those speedy frigates and we're in one of those type of duels where we got one of those quick boys coming in and they're trying to web us and we're trying to web them. So that's kind of the food for thought there. So is it going to be used in most cases? Probably not. I could probably orbit closer in and make use of the Weber more, but I don't think I really need to. I can keep this nice orbit. I have my orbit set at 18 km. As you can see, I'm orbiting at 19, which is still below that 21 threshold. So my medium rapids are actually hitting nicely. My target painter is going to blow up the signature of anything and hopefully make those missiles just apply their damage that little bit better. So overall, we're able to orbit at a much wider range than a lot of the other ships that I've played with that does the speed tank type style. Is it as fast as some of them? No, but 1,600 is plenty fast. It's able to speed tank, no problem. 1,600 is pretty amazing in my book. It's once you start going too fast, you start having trouble or keeping the orbit anyway. Damage gets applied wrong, and you don't have to worry about your drones with this, with your speed tank as well. So since your primary damage comes from that, and also missiles, and your missiles are really only affected by their speed that they're moving, you apply damage just overall really well at these high speeds. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing as well. as you can see, activating any type of damage mods with these frigates, their capacitors are really low. So that does take a huge chunk away from them. So that's just something to know too. If you do start taking damage and you want to make sure you stay up, one of the cool things that you can do is instead of activating it like off of cooldown, you can save it and use it for your shield boosters. But again, so far we haven't even had to turn the shield booster on yet. So that's also another one of the reasons why I was like, do we really need to have the tanking mod in there? The answer is no, not for this particular level of stuff that we're doing. However, at harder content, that might be something that might be effective. You've got some elites, you catch some webs, you're going to catch some damage. Also, if you're having to fly in to get into range, you might catch some damage there as well. So running with no tank, maybe something you could do for running news missions and whatnot. But would I recommend it for everything? No. However, I'd have to really take a look at the group boosters and see if they're going to be effective on these ships to heal up that damage. Their cargo hold is so low that you're kind of going to be filling it up with any type of fuel if you want to use the large ones. And so, I don't know, that would be up to you. You'd have to experiment around with that a bit more and let me know what you think about it and how that's going to work. Okay, we got a couple more small ships here, and these small ships are going to be a bit more of a hassle than the other ones. We do have one coming in really fast on us. Let's set an orbit on him. Focus fire. He's actually got us webbed up pretty good. And see, we actually did take a hit here. We're going to activate our drone damage as well. And we are going to put these target painters back on him as soon as we can. And look, we're not even counter web. We're already out of his web. And we're able to keep our distance. However, we did take a little bit of damage there. Okay. And it did also put us out at 42, so we are going to have to get back into range as well. We can start focus firing. Even though our missiles aren't going to be able to hit, we should close that distance pretty quickly. And then I don't really have to worry about activating it once we get there. Majority of our damage is coming from the drones anyway, so as soon as they apply damage, they apply damage. If you want to be more finicky with how you fly, be my guest, but I don't particularly care. Alright, start orbiting here. Cool. Now also, mind you, the drone damage amplifier that we have going on here, this nest worm, you're probably not going to be able to have it activated as long either unless you've got all of your large drone up to expert as well. So mind you, that is going to be a little bit shorter also. So you could still basically get the same damage, you're just going to have probably a little bit less unless you've gone through all your expert skills some auto magical way and have all your drone skills all maxed out. I mean, I guess we're getting there. If you're hyper focused in drones, you might be almost there if not already. But as you can see, this is running this very effectively. So with our shield regen, we haven't even used the shield booster yet again, and it's still doing good. It's holding strong. Our next wave should have a little bit more smaller ships, so we might have more damage applied there, but I still don't think it's going to be enough to even give us any type of concern. We're just really overall doing great work to all these ships. It's extremely safe. We're not even close. We're actually orbiting outside of most things Weber range or Scram range. So for the purposes of doing some of the harder missions as well, if you do pull out the elites from the pack, and again, this is kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to fit the Scram on there. If you're doing those and you're pulling those elites out, you might find some that actually scram you and have micro warp drives. But if you could turn off their micro warp drive, it can give you an opportunity to actually escape if you're going in a straight line, or just blow them up quickly and then move on. I'm having a lot of different ideas for this worm. I think it's an amazing ship. It can do great things. Obviously that hitting out to 85 km if you just load up the low slots with the drone range controllers, you're going to have a ton of range. It's not going to do a whole lot of damage though. I mean, your drone damage all around is going to be pretty low if you did that. But heck, if that's your playstyle and that's what you want to do, you want to sit out there and just orbit at 85 and stay at 85, be my guest. Have fun with the worm. Sit out there and do that. I throw some light missiles on there, or small missiles, and just for fun, just in case, and you don't even have to really worry about that power grid thing I was telling you about. And since you're speed tanking at that distance, I think the farther away you get, the less effective your speed tank becomes, especially if you end up moving in a straight line, they're going to hit you. But, I mean, still, you're going to be fine. Speed tanking at 85 km may take you a while to finish something, but you're definitely going to be doing it pretty safely. Heck, even a lot of the missiles that might even hit you at that rate, if you're doing 1,600, just the damage that they put on you is probably not going to be enough to really matter. Nothing that you won't be able to heal up with the shield wrap. So just to look at the fittings again, we are sitting at capacitor stable, so I could turn this on. And if I turn that on, just to show you, it's constantly repping. So what is our rep time? Our rep time is every 3.8 seconds. So we're getting 108 shields back every 3.8 seconds. Nothing is doing that type of damage to us. We don't have to be in a Nosferatu range because we're not using a Nosferatu. So you could literally just leave this on, and I would even say if you set everything up, you could probably AFK take just about every news mission. I mean, there's a couple that you have some elite spawn in that you might have to pay attention to, but I would be pretty confident to say that this could do that. I'm not even firing the missiles right now. This is all drone damage. Let's focus fire again. Let's get that other damage applying. So yeah, I'm pretty confident it could do that, no problem, and even take care of a lot of the we have a lot of tiny ships here. All right, let's focus fire this guy. So we might get into what, a little bit of trouble. We're looking at it being about cap stable, about that 60%. What are they really going to do to us? I mean, really, what are they going to do? Remember, we can only have 5 ships locked at a time. That is one of the things with these frigates. They can't quite lock up as many ships as some of the larger ships can. But when you're cap stable, I don't have the target painters on. Yeah, but you're cap stable, it's going to dip down a little bit more because we're using those target painters. You can literally sit here, have everything running, and not have a care in the world. This ship is not putting out the same numbers as some of the other faction ships do, but it definitely is fun. Very safe, very fun. Has the ability to do great damage and have an awesome shield tank going on with it. I like it. Now we're dipping down a little bit more because we were using the drone damage amplifier. But again, that's fine. It all end up being equalized. Okay, let's start getting into orbit around our next target. And I like orbiting at 18 because our missile range is that 21. And what that does is that gives us a little bit of wiggle room. I was let know that basically because of the travel time of that, if the ships are traveling, you're traveling, if you have that little bit more of wiggle room in there, then you're pretty much guaranteeing their hit. You're not going to get it where the missiles sputter out and explode before they hit anybody because you're not flying at your max distance. Let's orbit here. Focus fire. Again, this swarm is just so peaceful and relaxed. It's a great way to play. You've got all sorts of damage. You've got damage at your disposal of every single type that you would want. You've got pretty decent damage. I mean, it's pretty insane. This thing is literally doing cruiser damage, speed tanking, and has a decent armor tank. Or I'm sorry, not arbor tank, and a decent shield tank, just with the constantly boosting. And you don't even have to run that. We're just doing that to showcase that it can. It has that capability. They can just sit here and be the laziest little ship in the world. And it's also one of those ships too, because it's so fast. If you were sitting there playing, running news missions, doing things, you know, passively while you're watching movies, and you accidentally fall asleep while you're playing, this ship is just going to shoot off at 1,600 in a direction. I mean, your basic ships, even if they web it up a little bit, oh my gosh, you're taking 30% off of that. I'm still going to get out of your webber range, and then I'm gonna be gone. Bye bye. So making it, I would say, probably just one of the safest frigates to fly. This thing is a little beast. An amazing little ship, and it would be great to add to your repertoire of ships. If you have light missiles, or I keep calling them light, if you have the small missiles trained up, if you have medium missiles trained up, you can put the light missiles or the medium. I'm using medium rapids on it currently, and you've got a ton of drone skills, and your frigate skills are good. This little guy's is going to be amazing. Yeah. Obviously, the more time that you spend in the ship, the better it's going to be, and the better you're going to be able to have it fitted. And you'll be able to do a lot more with it. But, like I was saying even here, you could probably replace one of these target painters with a group shield repper and add in another damage mod. Instead of that shield booster. Whether it be your missiles if you're running the rapids, or more drone damage. And you could keep this thing just doing a whole lot more damage. And finish things even faster. Wonderful ship. And the other thing about this ship too, it just looks really cool too. Especially with the oversized weapons on there. I would really hate for this one to fire that's up there. Yeah, we're going to shoot the missile out into our own ship. I got some clipping issues where those are put. Still looks cool though. I like it. And our little drones are over there doing work. We are 90 km. That's interesting. So inadvertently, by not targeting stuff, that's interesting. Our drones are still attacking. I guess they must have reverted something. Again, I'm on the test server, so maybe it's just a bug. Not 100% sure. But I thought they would come back out of our drone control range. They did not. But yeah, that little bit of talking there, I was talking to you guys and didn't stay in orbit around that ship. And I got way the heck out there. Alright, so I was able to complete that pretty quickly. Obviously, I made some mistakes. I ended up flying away. But you can just see how much fun you can have in this ship. You can just do all sorts of crazy stuff with it. It's a really cool ship, and it's going to be just really fun to play with. I would like to have one of these on the live server too. My skills aren't anywhere near okay to run this. I do have the missile skills. I have tons of medium missile skills. I also have medium drones, which aren't going to help me in this ship. I do have light drones trained up a little bit, but not much, so... On live, I wouldn't really do too well on this ship, but it would be one of those things. It would be fun to have, and I think I would actually spend a little bit of time skilling into it if I had it, just to bring this awesome little ship available to everyone. Well, in my repertoire and yours. Well, tell me what you think about the worm below, and we will be going into the third faction ships, and so you can take a look at these guys and see what they might be able to do for you. See if you might actually win one in a faction giveaway, or if you just want to purchase one yourself and wanted to get a feel for what they look like and how they play. With that said, thank you very much. I want to thank everybody I didn't do a 700 sub video. I feel like I just did the 600 sub video, but I want to thank everybody so much from the bottom of my heart for subbing to me and supporting all the stuff that I do here. I really do appreciate you all, and I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.